The Earth is under pressure. Pollution, overpopulation, climate change. It sometimes feels like the planet is on life support. But what if we could hit the ultimate reset button? What if we can solve all of our biggest problems with just one solution? What if we all just left? I'm not talking about leaving physically. Imagine if we could upload our consciousness into a vast digital landscape, a utopia where human minds can live forever, free from the limits of the physical world. No pollution, no scarcity, no climate disasters. Think The Matrix, but without the evil machines, or Ready Player One, but without the awful dystopian corporations. Uploading consciousness is easy, theoretically. You just need to scan every neuron in our brains, mapping out every memory, thought, and feeling, and then transferring that data into a highly advanced computer-generated virtual environment. Then it's done. But would it work? If consciousness is purely the result of neural processes, then yes, an uploaded version of you would be you, a digital continuation. But what if there's something, a soul or a sense of self that can't be captured by data? Then what we're creating is simply a high-fidelity replica? A very sophisticated copy that thinks it's you. And which one do you keep? You can't keep both. That's the whole point. We need to get all of humanity to the net to save the Earth. Let's set that existential crisis aside and talk about what this digital world could look like. If all of humanity lived in a virtual utopia, what kind of society would we create? Without physical needs like food or shelter, would we finally achieve true equality? Would the old systems of power and privilege collapse? Maybe. Without scarcity, many of the problems that plague our current world, like poverty and hunger, could disappear. But would it? Humans are resourceful at finding new ways to create inequality. Even in a digital utopia, those with more computing power, more storage space, or faster internet connections could rise to the top. The wealthy could upgrade their digital selves, while others might be stuck in laggy, outdated versions of the virtual world, filled with unskippable ads. And then there's the question of human connection. Would relationships still matter in this digital world? Could love, friendship, or family bonds survive when there's no physical body to embrace, no real-world experiences to share? Technically, emotional bonds might persist for a while. After all, our emotions aren't tied to our physical forms. They're part of our consciousness. But over time, as interactions become increasingly mediated by algorithms, and as physical sensations are reduced to mere simulations, those bonds could erode. Imagine a world where emotions are more like pre-programmed responses rather than genuine feelings. Let's talk about the environment. If we all upload our consciousness, the Earth could finally heal. Without the need for industry, transportation, or agriculture, carbon emissions would plummet. Forests could regrow, the oceans could recover, and endangered species could thrive. In theory, this sounds like a win for the planet, right? But we still need resources to maintain our digital world. Servers need energy, and massive data centers don't just spring up from nowhere. They require space, power, and raw materials. Even in our sleek virtual paradise, the physical world would still be in play behind the scenes, silently supporting our new digital lives. And as more people upload, the infrastructure required to sustain this global network of consciousness would grow exponentially. What if the very act of sustaining our digital utopia drains the Earth's remaining resources even faster? There's also the question of who controls this new world. Who owns the servers? Who writes the code that dictates what this virtual reality looks and feels like? Is there a governing body that ensures fairness? Or do we end up at the mercy of corporations and tech oligarchs? In our current world, governments struggle to regulate big tech. So what happens when big tech is the world? Okay, that sounds a bit too dystopian. Let's say we've got that sorted out as well. We've figured out how to run our entire digital utopia on sustainable energy. Solar fields stretching across deserts, wind farms spinning in the oceans, and fusion reactors humming quietly in the background. And there's an army of robots and AI to help us maintain it all. They work tirelessly, building, repairing, and optimizing the infrastructure we depend on. No more human labor, no more exploitation. Machines do all the heavy lifting while we relax in our virtual paradise. In this ideal version, the digital world is thriving, fully self-sustaining. But then, the question becomes, what do we dream of when there are no limits? When everything is possible, does anything feel truly meaningful? When you can teleport to the peak of Everest or swim through the rings of Saturn, does it still feel like an adventure? Or do we risk losing the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of a challenge overcome? And what about the robots and AI? Sure, they're helping us now, keeping everything running smoothly. But if we create systems that can think, learn, and adapt, could they one day surpass us? Could the digital world we built end up becoming more intelligent, more creative, even more alive than we are? What happens when the AIs start dreaming too? What happens if a glitch occurs? Or worse, what if the very AI that keeps us alive decides to optimize our existence in ways we didn't foresee? What if it starts making decisions on our behalf, deciding what we experience, what we feel, even what we think? But let's not spiral into another dystopia. Let's assume the AI remains benevolent, a perfect custodian of our digital utopia. So, could this actually work? In theory, yes. We have the technology. At least, we're getting closer every day. But uploading our consciousness would open up a whole new set of ethical, philosophical, and practical problems. We might save the planet, but who knows what we could lose.